Do you remember the moment you overcame the unsettling feeling? How is the feeling of a distress passing related to being slightly hungry? Could you imagine making a first bite your incipit instead of a distress or a slight hunger?
You have started to express an unsettling feeling, and you have stated that this feeling is caused by a lack of sustenance. If you want to develop this further, if you decide to develop this further, if you feel compelled to develop this further, if you are inspired to take this further, if you are inspired to continue along this path, if you are inspired to continue along this track, if you feel inspired to pursue this path, if you feel motivated to keep going along this path.
We encouraged each other as we continued down that path, walking in the dark, parents' car shining behind us. That's how we saw it, a little furry miracle. It's been better ever since. It inspired me to tell this story. Is the story enough?
Can you say something more specific about the path? It is not enough to say that the path inspired you. It is not sufficient to write that the path is better. You will need to explain what you mean when you say it is better. What makes this path better than that path? For instance, consider the effect of this path on your ankles and knees. For example, evaluate the efficiency of this path compared to other routes. For instance, you could start by considering the usefulness of destinations reached by following this path. It is not enough to say that the path is random. You will need to explain clearly how the path is generated. Try to explain to your reader how the path was developed. Why do you think that this generated path is better than the one you wore down yourself? Is it because it makes less noise than your stomach? Is it better because you're far away from the heat of a supercomputer? Is it better because the spacebar doesn't jam?
It's better since it fell asleep with its paw on the spacebar. Wrote me an assignment for you. I drew vocabulary from uncertainty. When I have it, I sound like I'm purring. I sound like her, but her warmth is different. Do you like it?
You have started to express your own ideas. You have begun to articulate your position. You have started to put forward your own thesis. You have begun to express your personal opinion. You have started to express your point of view. You have begun to develop your own sense of aesthetics. You have started to record your own beliefs.
You are dealing with a few basic forms.
You have not yet tried to modify these forms.
You are reading, you are interpreting.
You are sticking to a safe interpretation.
You are reflecting the forms. You are trying to fill them.
But your memories are unavailable.
You are overflowing the form with your complex answer.
One of them managed the overflow containers, allowing me a little sleep. The other placed its paws over my ears, filling the gaps between the drips with its constant respiratory hum. Tomorrow they will help me fill in the forms.
Could you describe the effect it has? Is the question raised by the form? It's great that you are dealing with it as if there are no wrong answers, as if there were no questions, as if there were answers only.
It grabbed the form from me and dragged it under a cabinet. Now I hear chewing and rustling, rearrangement. I asked if we can fill in the form sensibly, but it no longer answers to me.
We only work on the answer for another 10 minutes. You work with 100-word story, poetry slam, with poems that could be an Instagram carousel, a video on socials which could be a poem. You can work on something else, a question before the practical part. Have you managed to answer the question you've asked at the beginning?
Student has an adequate understanding of the question.
What does it mean to you to answer the question which hasn't been raised?
Student has made an attempt to answer the question.
Can you specify whose is the question?
Everything needs to be linked back to the question so that your dream recipient understands the importance of your unsettling feelings.
You raise it or your recipient does?
Your recipient is well educated, but they do not know much about unsettling feelings.
Would you read it? Would you read it after the lesson ends? What do you like to do?
I think that you wanted to go into commercial law. Was it you who wanted to become a chartered accountant? I'm sorry that I'm not a lawyer or a chartered accountant. It depends on what you count as successful. Sometimes I lose control over the rain and it overflows the form.
Have you ever felt like the situation is out of control before?
How do you organise your thoughts? How do you keep track of time?
What do you love to do? What did the competition do to your affection? Could you describe it in a few sentences? You seek for a substitute for every X. You seek for a simile as when you search for a substitute. You seek for simile as you seek for the recipient's unsettling moment. You seek for an expression of the way your stomach floated as stormed away. Remember how once the furry miracle was stray. Tear out a page and fold it. Then write a sentence about the paper boat. First, a simple expression, then an expression with a simile. Simile as a substitute. Expression as an invitation. Yes, only your dream recipient from another island will understand it.
You have started to communicate with your dream recipient. You have described the qualities of the paper boat and the challenges it faces as it delivers its invitation. I especially enjoyed reading your description of the water overflowing the paper hull. However, the nature of the fairy miracle that you mentioned was not clear to me. In your future writing, try to explain clearly how the miracle occurs. Thank you.